Okay guys, you've been asking for it, so I'm going to try and do a separate video, this one, on how Sue ended up in the United States. I asked you if you wanted like more recent and you said no from the beginning. You asked for it. I've been here 42 years guys, so let's see. Let's see if we can make this not too long. What I might have to do is do it in a couple of parts. Because it has been a very long time, but I'll try and condense it so it's not too much. But Maddie just woke up, so you might hear Maddie in the background. So I came to New York in 1982. I came over as a nanny. As a kid growing up, my father was in the army. I was born in Germany, even though I am British. Very long time ago. Don't need to go into those years, do we, or do we? You all know how old I am. Anyway, if you don't, I'm very old. So I was very lucky. We always had a summer and a winter vacation. We pretty much were in Germany for 13 years, not consecutively. We moved every 2 years. We did go back to England when I was a toddler. Then we went back to either Germany. We did go back to Germany, then we went to Cyprus where my dad was posted for 13 months. Then we went back to Germany till I was 16. Every year we took a family vacation in the winter and the summer. And living in Germany, my father was a caravan man. We would go away with several other military families. It would all be a little convoy. And we drove to France, Italy, Spain, you name it. My dad was a caravan person, wasn't a hotel person at all. And there was always the question, where do you guys want to go? And I, being a kid, used to say, America, America, I want to go to America. Didn't care where in America, I just wanted to go to America for a visit. Maybe it was all the American TV that we used to watch in German that was dubbed in German, so I still couldn't understand it, but never mind. Always wanted to go to America. My dad used to say, our Sue, once they build a bridge and we can drive to it, we'll go to America. Long story short, back in England, Dad was supposed to get posted to Northern Ireland and had a heart attack and ended up being transported back to England from Germany. Mum and I drove from Germany back to the Midlands. I mean, obviously to London first to be with Dad, but he then ended up staying in England. Dad was in the army until he was 65 years old, so you know, he did 50 years. He joined at 15 or 16. Long story short, he was posted to North Yorkshire where I went with him. Mum stayed in the Midlands at that time because my grandmother, my mum's mum, was very ill. And after about a year, we all went back to the Midlands, and there was I got a job, a government training scheme job at a solicitor's office in Wolverhampton, and my dad came home from work one day and said, Sue, if you're serious about America, because I still talked about America, a friend of mine has a daughter that is a nanny in New York, and they're looking for a nanny for another family. If you knew me back then, I'm so shy. I'm still very shy, believe it or not. I'm like, yeah, I want to go. And it was just for a year. I was going to come. So I had to pass my driving test because she had 2 girls and she was pregnant with the third, who actually it's her birthday today. And she's 42. Happy birthday, Polly. I'm still in touch with them all. 42 years old, of course. I've been here 42 years, but I don't feel 42 on the inside. It's just the outside. The outside rushed away with me. But I said, yeah, I want the job. So we spoke to the family. And I remember my dad speaking to them because I was only 18. And I remember Alan saying to my dad, is there anything you would like to know? And my dad goes, nope, I've already done a background check on you. You're good. Told him where his parents were from, where he grew up. Well, as a dad should check on, you know, not just going to send your daughter 3,000 miles and to know, but not to know. But anyway, lo and behold, took me 4 times to pass my driving test. This is probably way too much information. I have to keep stopping it because I don't want a really long download. So it took me 4 times to pass my driver's test. Say the word test to me, it freaks me out. But just for everybody over here, a driver's test in England takes 45 minutes. It's not like a 5-minute driver's test like over here. So we do a lot of different things. And I kept failing because I was a nervous wreck. I finally passed. And I said to the instructor, oh, great, because I'm going to America next week. And I have to drive. I've got a job out there as a nanny. Well, he looked at me, Miss Jones, please don't kiss any more curbs. So I guess I went over a couple of curbs. They probably gave me my driver's test out of pity. Never mind. Long story short, we go down to London to stay with some military friends because I was getting the flight the next morning, and we get to the airport and Air France has gone on strike, hasn't it? So we had to book another plane, which still had a connector in Paris, which took me to the wrong airport, missed my connecting flight, had to go back to the other airport on the buses back and forwards. I'm thinking to myself, go home. Just go home. This is not going to work. Meanwhile, my mum made me dress up. I was in a dress and a blazer. This was the 8th of July, 1982. Very hot. Mum said you always dress to impress. Anyway, I finally I sent telegrams and that to the family. I was supposed to land at like 1 in the afternoon. I didn't land till 1 in the morning. So I had to call them with the help of some kind people in the airport to get them to come back and pick me up. Because I landed at, I think it was JFK. So they came and got me, took me home, and I remember getting into bed that night saying to myself, I'm not staying here. I don't want to stay here. I could hear sirens. I'm like, I don't know where I am. All I had in my mind was I'm in the city, New York City. Sirens, no, I'm going home. I'm going home tomorrow. I remember calling my mum crying, I want to come home. She's like, you just got there, give it a chance. Anyway, I gave it a chance, all right. Love the family, but the first thing, Deirdre, if ever you watch these videos, I don't know if you remember, Deirdre was 6 at the time. She came up to me and she goes, how long are you staying? You're my 5th nanny. I'm like, oh dear, what have I come to? I was with my family for 4.5 years. I loved them. And the girls were in my wedding except Deirdre, because Deirdre was in France on a student exchange, but Polly and Katie were in my wedding when I married Pete 4.5 years later. So that's how I got to New York. I came as a nanny. I was staying a year and then going home, but then my friend Jane, who you've all heard me talk about, who's here in Orlando, which is one reason I picked this area, she came over. I'd known Jane from school in Germany. We met. We lived in the same neighborhood, and we had assigned seating on the buses because our schools were an hour away. So that's how Jane and I met. This is probably too much info. Anyway, so Jane came the next year. The 3rd year, another friend of ours came. And then the 4th year, I married Pete. So that was 87. So that's how I ended up in New York. So we lived in New York, moved quite a bit in the beginning, all over, apartments, until we finally bought our house. I was pregnant with Ashley. We were renting in Rye. I didn't think I could get pregnant. I had terrible endometriosis, and the chances of getting pregnant were very slim. Ashley was my miracle. I always say this. I used to pray, just one good one. I got my one good one. So we finally bought a house in Portchester, and that's where we lived, and that's where I thought I would live till my end of time. Let's not be too morbid. Ashley says I've been very morbid lately, so I'm trying not to be. I've had a lot going on this month. As I told Dodie when she came down this weekend, it's been a month. That's all I'm going to say. It's been a month. Anyway, so I enjoyed my life in New York. I worked up until I quit my job and then worked full-time with Pete with the photography business. We had our own photography business. Pete and I got married in 87. When I got married to Pete, I was working. Where was I working? I was working at a real estate office part-time and a stationery store in Greenwich on Greenwich Avenue. And then I got a job at the beach club. I knew everyone at the beach club because when I was a nanny, the family belonged to that beach club. And so I knew everybody. And I got a job there as the assistant bookkeeper. And then I got, Jane was the assistant bookkeeper. Then she went to catering. So yes, I worked for Jane. And then I became the assistant catering manager, which was a lot of fun in the office during the week, booking parties, getting everything ready, doing supplies. And then I would work the floor for a lot of the parties after that. Thoroughly enjoyed it. After that, they let my position go 11 years in as a new manager came in, and he's back there now, funnily enough. He had gone and now he's back. We made up. But it was heartbreaking because it was right when I was having issues with my back and stuff. Ashley was a little and she was like 3 or 4 at this point. And they decided my job and a couple of the other assistant jobs were going bye-bye. So that's what happened there. I still waitressed for a while after that. And then I got a job over at USD in Greenwich, and I worked there for 4.5 years. And then I realized that I wasn't going anywhere in that job, so I said to Pete, can't do it anymore. And then I got a job for a member of the club, had her own business. I'm not going to say her name or anything. And I worked with her, and I thought, this is my dream job. Until I started, and 3 months in, going home with a migraine every night thinking, this is not how the other half live. It was a personal assistant job, but it was above and beyond. And I thought, I loved this lady when she was a member, and I'm just like, this is not the way someone should be treated. So I said to Pete, I can't do it anymore. Even my mum was over on holiday, and she's like, Sue, you can't keep coming home like this. It's ridiculous. I'd be in tears every night, getting ill from a migraine, going, this is not the way to live. So I did leave that job. And then I went full-time working for Pete with Memorable Moments. And I'm going to say this. Yes, I worked my rear end off for that photography business. And some of you know why I'm saying that, and some of you won't. But things were thrown around like, you haven't worked, you haven't done this, blah, blah, blah. We'll leave it there. Fast forward to 2022, 21. I think it was August 21. I was told our marriage was over. That was a hard pill to swallow. Yes, of course it was tough. Marriage is tough, you have to work at it. But there was no talking, there was no anything, so that was August. I'm sure that was August 2021. Yeah, sorry. The ones that have been with me for a long time know how much of a blur the last few years has been in my life. This is where it gets a bit tricky. February 2022, Ashley found out she was pregnant with her son. He was due November. It was the day before her due date. She calls the doctor's office. They say, come in. She comes in, goes in. And I called Pete and said, because I'm kind. We were still talking, but Ashley's in labor, going to the hospital. Do you want to go? Yes, I want to be there. So he actually came, picked us up. We went to the hospital. And Peter dropped his phone at some point, and because of COVID, and stuff, they wouldn't let us all up with Ashley. So I said to Ash, I'll go back with your dad to the house, see if we can find the phone, which he'd actually dropped in the driveway. So we go back. As we turn around, go right back to the hospital. As we're pulling in the parking lot to park the car, I get that call saying, Ashton is gone. So the next 48 hours, horrific. My daughter had to go through labor and give birth to a stillborn. After that, it was a nightmare. Ash and I trying to get through the holidays as normal human beings and grieving the loss of a marriage, her father moving out, and the loss of her son. At that point, I still thought I was going to be staying in New York. We can keep the house. We're going to do everything in our power to have you stay in the house. Can't stay in the house. Stay in the house. Can't stay in the house. Okay, so that went on for a while. So now we're in what, 2023? Can't stay in the house. House has to go on the market. Don't worry though, it'll probably take 6-7 months to sell, even though the market's looking up. Put the house on the market on the Friday. The realtor says, we're going to do open house on Sunday. Is that okay? And Pete goes, well, that's okay with me. I'm in a whirlwind, as you can imagine. But I'm going away for the weekend, so I won't be able to do anything. No, not the weekend. He went away for a week. So at that point, I'm like, this is May. I'm like, fine, whatever. So she puts the house on the market on the Friday, sends us a listing. Had some showings on Saturday. Sunday comes around. Ash and I are going to go out because they're going to do the open house, and I don't want to be there. And we got to get Luna out of the house. And I've been trying to reach my mum. I can't get hold of my mum. Mum and I talk at 10 o'clock every single day. Spoke to her on the Saturday. She wasn't feeling great. I texted her all Saturday night. No response. Sunday morning, I reach out to her neighbours. I'm like, something's going on. I can't get hold of Mum. Even when Mum was at her worst, she would at least send me a little text saying, look, not feeling well, in bed, speak to you soon, love you. Which is what I got on Saturday morning after I tried speaking with her and I could see she wasn't well. Next thing I know, can we have your phone number? So I give her neighbour my phone number and I get a call from the paramedics. Lost my mum. So, not only now do we have an open house, I'm 3,000 miles away and I'm in spitting. So, I texted the realtor and I said, look, my mum just passed away. She goes, well, sorry to hear that, honey. Pretty much like that. We can cancel the open house, but you'll have to just keep answering the door because people are going to come anyway because it's been advertised. Me being me said, fair enough, go ahead. I can see nobody cares. So Ashley and I went and sat in a parking lot at Coles Shopping Centre and tried to take in everything that was happening. Meanwhile, we just lost Ashton 6.5 months prior to that, still mourning Ashton, the marriage, the fact that my home was being sold. Still thinking, well, I'll still be here. Because what I haven't told you yet is Ashley got pregnant with Madison that February, so a few months before Mum passed. So I'm like, because they were watching Ashley closely, because of what happened with Ashton, which no one really knows, there was no reason for Ashton to pass. There was nothing that happened, nothing. They just wanted to keep a close eye on Ashley. So I'm like, well, you know, we'll be selling the house, but at least I'll still be in New York because she was due in October. They were going to actually give her a date. They didn't want her to go past 38 weeks, I think it was, because of what she went through with Ashton, and they thought, you know, the stress and everything with Ashley getting to that point. So I'm like, well, you know, the house won't sell that quickly. So the open house was on the Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we had more showings. Thursday, there was an offer. 3 offers. Friday, there was an accepted offer. Don't worry, Sue. You can stay in the house as long as you need to. That didn't happen either. I went home for my mum's funeral in the June, back to England. And Pete started packing up the house while we were away. We'd already started clearing out stuff. There was no time to breathe. Everything just started rattling around, and my breath, I don't even think I had my own thought for 3 years at this point. We went home for the funeral. At that point, I'm like, where am I going to live? I started looking for apartments in New York. The prices are ridiculous. Plus, I had Luna. Everyone kept telling me, you're going to have to get rid of Luna. I'm not getting rid... Family. I'm not just going to get rid of Luna. I've had enough loss. I've lost my mum, my grandson, my marriage, my home. I'm not getting rid of Luna as well. So I was looking, and I was told by my realtor, don't worry, we're going to find you somewhere, honey. We're going to take care of you. She knew the situation. I said I need at least a 2-bedroom. I don't want a high-rise building. A nice area. I have a dog, so I'd like a little, you know, something, if it's an apartment on the first floor. And these are kind of the areas I want. I know that area long enough. I've lived there for 40 odd years. These are the areas I don't want. Well, she came up with a 1-bedroom in a high-rise in an area I didn't want to live. No dogs accepted. What am I supposed to do with that for over $3,600 a month? What am I supposed to do with that? Absolutely diddly squat. So it was funny, when I was in England for Mum's funeral, everyone kept saying, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? And I kept saying, joking around, going, I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to go to Florida. When it first happened, I was talking with Mum about moving back to England. Obviously, it was a horrible decision. It was a catch-22 because I had my mum in England, I had my daughter pregnant here, and then Mum passed. So Florida it became, and I was telling everyone I'm going to Florida, and they're like, oh, where? I'm like, no clue, because I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't had time to think about it. I just kept thinking, I'm going to Florida. I'm going to Florida. So when we got back from England, we were talking to Jack and Jared and kept sending them places. Ash was looking in the areas. I knew where Jane was. I knew I wanted to be close by Jane, not on her doorstep. You know, I'm not going to do that to her, but close enough that she's here. So that's what we started doing. Jack said, you know, whatever we can do to help. So I would look up places, Ashley would look up places, and we'd send them, and he'd be like, nice area, not this, what do you need, we'll look. And then lo and behold, the house closing was upon us, and the house closing was August, I always get this wrong, the middle of August. I'm not going to do dates right now. I did dates with you guys a while back. Middle of August, on a Monday night at 3 o'clock on Monday, late afternoon, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever it was. By the time we got out there, it was close to 7. The house closed. So that's it. The house went on the market in May. Lost mum. Went to England in June. Packed up the house July. And 2 weeks in August. The day after the closing, Luna had to have shots because I knew when I got here I had to find somewhere for Luna while we looked for a place to live, because Jane has animals, so I couldn't take Luna into Jane's house, understandably. So Jane helped me find a lovely person in her neighborhood that watches dogs. So I had to obviously have Luna's shots done. We couldn't get her an appointment till 12 o'clock the next day. Our vet was fully booked. Had to go to another vet. My car was shot. Ashley needed her car in New York. Didn't want to drive it this far, so we rented a car. And the minute we finished at the vet's with Luna having her shots, Ashley jumped in the car with me and we drove down here to Florida to stay with Jane, thankfully. And the next day went house hunting with Jack and Jared and found this place. So talk about a whirlwind, talk about 2 years that I never want to live through again. But we made it, didn't we? So we found this place, had to put in all the applications and everything, very different. Being on your own suddenly, it's really scary. Ashley flew back to New York on the Friday. So we got here on the Wednesday, found the place on the Thursday. She went back on the Friday. And on the Monday, I heard that I'd been accepted for this house and moved in on the Thursday, the following Thursday, the 24th. I'll never forget the 24th. So that, guys, in a nutshell, I don't know how long that is. I tried to not do too much, but that in a nutshell is how I ended up in America and how I ended up in Florida at 60 years old, now 61. And that's why in one of my tag things, my hashtags is starting over at 60 because, or life begins at 60 because it's not 40, not for me. So I'm beginning again in Florida. Ashley had her beautiful daughter and decided she wanted to come down here as well. This was always Ashley's dream, to move to Florida. So here we are, starting again. I hope that was enough detail. I've been asked to do this for a couple of months now because there's a lot of people like, I don't know your story, don't know how you ended up there, don't know if I'm married or single. I do have this ring on. I bought myself this from Kendra Scott a few months back because I had my rings on I was married 35 years and my fingers are so indented from the rings that I don't like looking at it as a reminder. So I did buy myself this little ring, which is just a plain little band. Well, it's 3 little bands together with a kiss. I call it a kiss. You could call it an X. And people didn't really know my story because there's a lot of videos because I've been vlogging for 12 and a half years every single day. There's a lot to go through if you want to know what happened. So if you want to look from 2021 to 2023, those are the videos. There's some very sad. I didn't tell anyone for a while in my vlogs that Pete had left. People started noticing that he wasn't in the vlogs. I've never really said why and the whole story, and I'm not going to, not yet. Maybe one day that will come. There's still bits that tie us all together, which when that isn't the case, maybe I'll do a what happened. I mean, it basically happened how I said. He decided that was that. So, yeah. I just remember some of Mum's last words to me, and they were karma. But yeah, that's where we're at, guys. So that's how we're now here in Florida. And the first year has gone past. I've been here a year and a year and a month. Wait, yeah, a year and a month. The end of this month will be a year, 2 months. And we're starting again and building friendships and meeting YouTubers. And you'll say, well, you've been vlogging that long, how come you don't have more subscribers? Because I didn't advertise my channel. I didn't. My channel was for Mum to see us, to see what we were up to. I started this channel when Ash was 18. She's now 31. And I've never bothered. But now going to theme park bazaars meetups, meeting people that I've watched for years, like the Lodge guys. It's just been amazing. So meeting people and talking to people and meeting new people now, it's been fantastic. So there you go, guys. That's my story of how I ended up in the States and particularly in Florida. I hope it was worth it. I don't really know how else to say it, so I'm just going to end it there and get back to our regular scheduled programming.